Y'all know what time it is. It's the Brothers Got Next. We back. We took a little time off, celebrated Christmas, had our friends miss, exchanged gifts, watched the Steelers' demise, watched the Cowboys miss the playoffs. It's been kind of rough. Although with the Cowboys, you kind of expected it from like when Dak got hurt. So no surprises there. But we're back. We got playoff predictions for you. Let's just get right to it, D. I don't know if there's anything you want to say. Let's just get rolling. I'm ready to roll. This is one of the best times of the year, the NFL playoffs.
Yeah, before we get started, you know what I'm saying? I'm doing a little East Coast, West Coast love. Got the Crenshaw shirt on, representing, Nip. And then, got the original Yankee blue. My co-host is saying he's not used to seeing me in the hat, but this is probably the only hat you'll ever see me rock. So,
I've known Darian for over 20 years. I've seen him in the hat maybe once or twice. So
this is probably the only hat I'll ever rock. And you can see by all the stuff is on here, so you can see it's brand new. Yeah. This is actually the World Series hat, by the way, that we lost. But listen, we got there.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, of course you're gonna be hyped. So they've been my only team I've been able to really be proud of, even though we lost in the World Series. But at least we got there.
Yeah, New York sports are in an interesting phase, right? Because the Yankees are good. The Mets are actually solid, too.
They are, yeah.
The Knicks are pretty good.
Knicks are solid, too. I would say Knicks are solid.
The NFL team.
Yikes.
That's a rough
situation. Yeah.
Like, you can argue which one's worse off right now, and I have no idea. Like, who's worse? The Jets or the Giants right now?
I would say the Giants because they lost like 10 in a row. Like the Jets obviously were bad, too. Like, going forward, I think the Giants' future is brighter than the Jets' future to me.
Are you going based off like ownership, or what are you going?
No, because I think they're going to take a quarterback, so they'll have a quarterback where they don't have to pay him for 5 years, so they'll be able to sign, you know what I mean, free agents in that time. Whereas the Jets, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what are they going to do? Like, obviously, the owner's saying that Aaron Rodgers is pretty much gone. So where do they go from there? I mean, are they going to draft a quarterback, or
maybe they hit up Zach Wilson again, see if he wants to come back?
Yeah, I guess apparently there's some discussion that they might try to get Sam Darnold back. I heard that.
If I'm a free agent, I'm avoiding the Jets.
I agree. And supposedly there's also Kirk Cousins talk too. I heard. So I think the Giants have a better future than the Jets. That's just me.
I think you're pretty much good if you always bet against the Jets. I think that's a safe bet.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, let's get right to it, man. The Jets are not in the playoffs, of course. Yes. So let's get started, man. We'll get it rolling. I'm going to go in order. We're going to talk about all the games, give our reasons why we think this particular team will win. Let's start with the first game, man. Chargers at Texans. Who you got?
I like the Chargers. I actually like the Chargers in a road. I don't know if it's considered really an upset. I don't know what the line is on this game, but I
believe that the Chargers are 3-point favorites.
They are, yeah. So yeah, I like the Chargers. Just like the defense, the Texas O-line is awful. Yeah. Stroud's kind of regressed a little bit. I know they won the division, but that division is so weak.
Yeah.
They're missing. Is it Tank Dell or Nico Collins? Which one went down?
Nico Collins been banged up, but Tank Dell is the one that's out for the rest.
Yeah, it's out for the year. Yeah, I think that's going to be big. Stephon Diggs is actually out still, for the year.
It's really sucks to them.
Yeah. So to me, I mean, weapons wise, he's only going to have Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. I mean, who's pretty good, but I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball with Joe Mixon because the Chargers are one of the best against the run. Like I said, overall defense, they're just good. So, yeah, I like the Chargers in this spot. I think Herbert will make enough plays for them to win. I don't think they'll blow them out, but I think they'll do enough to win. They'll control the game. They'll do enough to win the game. So, I like them by at least, a touchdown to 10 points in that game.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. I think Herbert, while his numbers haven't necessarily been like eye-popping if you look at that sheet, but he's had a really pretty good season. He took great care of the ball. I think he had less than 6-7 interceptions this season, so he's been taking really good care of the ball. Harbaugh has really installed that culture with the Chargers that's been kind of missing for a long time. So I think they're going to go in there. I think it'll be a kind of a lower scoring game, but I can see the Chargers win that one maybe like a 23-17. I just don't think, like you said, the Texans just don't have enough firepower. Their O-line, especially if you're talking the middle of their O-line, is just a mess right now. And C.J. Stroud is really under pressure. And you can tell, the more you hit, especially young quarterbacks, the more you hit them, the more they're going to obviously struggle, and it'll affect their confidence even more than a veteran quarterback, because at least they're, you look at somebody like Joe Burrow, he gets hit all the time, but
Right.
but with CJ, he's still young, he's still learning, and it hasn't been great for him this season. So I agree with you. I like the
Yeah,
Chargers.
it's just a bad matchup. I mean, arguably the number one defense in the league versus the worst O line. I'm going to take the number one defense, every time. Not even a 9 times out of 10, 10 out of 10. I'm going to take them. So yeah, it's just a bad matchup for the Texans. So even though they're at home, it's just a bad matchup. Like I said, I think the Chargers control the game and win, pretty easily.
Yeah, the Chargers got to be licking their chops right now. Like, we get to go against this offense right now.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, man, we got my boys next. I'm actually going to be at this game. Me and my father-in-law are going to go 8 rows from the field, Steelers sideline. So if the Steelers get on my nerves, I might be heckling them. I might be yelling stuff. Like, Tommy, you suck. Nah, but really excited. It's going to be cold, but really, I'm just going for the experience. It's a rivalry. It's a playoff game. Never been to one. So obviously, we'll document that, and we'll show you guys some footage in our next podcast, like we did when we went to Pittsburgh. So with that said, man, who do you like? Who you got?
I've been back and forth with this one. Obviously, the big news came out today that Zay Flowers is going to be out.
That's pretty significant.
I know we had like a little text chain shout out to our boy B Rice, who's a Ravens fan. He doesn't think it's as big of a deal. I think it's a little bigger deal than people were giving it, and maybe Ravens fans want to admit. I mean, he's the number one receiver, right?
Pro Bowl receiver, their first.
Exactly, he's a Pro Bowler
ever.
Yeah, exactly. So to say that it's not a big deal, I think that's kind of being kind of naive.
I think a little bit.
Mark Andrews is probably their next weapon that he could throw to, and I could just see the Steelers kind of doubling him or shading a safety over him so he doesn't kind of get off. I think the Ravens are going to have to win by running the ball with Henry, which they can. Obviously, Henry was second in rushing in the league. You know what I mean? He's also a Pro Bowler this year. So they can do that. With all that being said, I just don't like the way the two teams are. Like, I think you mentioned in the text chain we had, like, momentum is very big. You know what I mean? Especially how you end the season. I mean, Steelers lost, 4 in a row, to end the season. And I think the Ravens won 4 in a row to end the season. So, I'm always big on momentum. I think the Ravens have the momentum. They're going to be at home. Obviously the last time they met, the Ravens kind of dominated that game. They won the game in Baltimore. So I don't see it being any really different. I think obviously the Zay Flowers thing is huge. So I got to see how the Steelers play defense-wise. If they're going to put 8 in the box against Henry to kind of stop the run, and then say, hey, Lamar, beat us with your arm, and you only have Mark Andrews. I do like Isaiah Likely, their other tight end, like B. Rice had mentioned. I do like him as well, but I don't know if tight ends are enough. You know what I mean? When you're throwing, especially in a playoff game, to win. The time in playoff games, this is where your stars kind of step up. This is where stars, I think in any sport, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, the stars are supposed to show up in the playoffs. This is where you pay your guys. The guys you pay are supposed to show up. So I don't know if 2 tight ends, for Lamar is going to be enough for him to throw. They're going to really have to run the ball with Henry and hopefully win that. The offensive line's got to win the line of scrimmage against that Steelers D, which is going to be tough. But with all that being said, I like the Ravens just slightly. I think it's a close game. I think it actually comes down to a field goal. So I think I like the Ravens probably by 3. Yeah. And I think it's going to be surprisingly low scoring. I think it's going to be like a 17-14 game.
Oh, interesting. So like a classic Steelers-Ravens.
Correct. Yeah, I like it 7. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I don't even think it gets into the 20s. I think it's like 17-14. But I like the Ravens to edge it out. And Tucker's also starting to get out of his slump. He's starting to get back to that old Justin Tucker. So, yeah, I like the Ravens by 3.
Yeah, I think this game is going to have a feel more like the old Steelers-Ravens game. So I agree with you on that. My issue with the Steelers is what they need to do to be able to kind of get going on offense is run the ball well, which they have not been doing. And then, of course, you're going against the number 1 rushing defense. So it's not really a good matchup for the Steelers when it comes to trying to establish the run with Jalen Warren and Najee. And, of course, they just haven't been – the pass protection's been really bad. Russell Wilson's had some uncharacteristic turnovers. I think for them to have some success on offense, if they're not going to be able to run with the running backs, Russell Wilson's going to have to get rid of the ball quicker. He's going to have to scramble a little bit more than he might be comfortable doing. At this point, it's the playoffs. You got to go all out. I do think the Steelers' defense actually played pretty well against Cincinnati, who was firing on all cylinders for a month. Remember,
Right.
had 3 touchdown passes for like a month straight in every game. So, and they really slowed them down. They only held them to 19 points. I think they kicked 3 or 4 field goals. I think they only had 1 touchdown. So the Steelers' defense actually played – that was very encouraging last week, and it gave the Steelers a chance to win. But unfortunately, the offense just kind of came back and bit them. They couldn't take advantage of a pretty porous Bengals defense. I mean, they've been playing better over the last couple of weeks, but I think that's concerning if you're a Steelers fan. They just haven't been able to get anything going on offense. Pickens is just way too hit or miss. He got a terrible game against the Bengals. They got 3 or 4 drops. So,
yeah, one quick question I just want to ask you. I was thinking about this today too. I was like, I'm going to ask you this on the pod. Do you think or do you believe that Pickens is a number 1?
I think he has number 1 talent, but I don't think he has the maturity. Now, maturity doesn't always have to be a part of being a number 1 receiver.
Right, it doesn't, yeah.
Your Randy Mosses and your guys.
Right.
Talented. But I think for him, it's easy to get in his head. I think if you get in his head early in the game, you can clearly see it on the field. Even if you remember the end of that Cowboys game where he grabbed the dude's face, it was like, bro, what are you doing, man? So it's just a lot of the same stuff you're seeing over and over. He just doesn't seem to be growing up, which is a concern. And I don't know how much longer he's going to be a Steeler, if I'm honest with you, especially if he has another dud in this upcoming game.
Right.
So I say all that to say I do think this game will be a little closer, but I do think the Ravens pull it out. I think it's going to be one of those games where it's tight throughout, but I think you'll see the Ravens have that start to pull away a little later on. So maybe like a, although I said it's going to have that classic Steelers Ravens feel for the first 3 quarters, then I think in the 4th quarter Lamar is going to have a big play with his feet, and then they'll probably end up winning like a 27-21. So I'm gonna go Ravens as well. Of course, I hope that I get to see the upset in person because it would have been worth standing in the cold and paying.
Right.
But yeah, unfortunately, I try not to be biased. I am going to go with the Ravens here, but I hope.
Yeah, getting back to that Pickens question real quick. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I actually think he's more of a 2. When I look at a lot of his games, it's a lot of inconsistencies.
A lot.
He has some great catches. Like obviously,
he's like talent for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, talent wise, he has some unbelievable catches in his career. But when I look at the totality of his game and just of like when he plays a whole game, it's a lot of inconsistencies. And to me, that's not a number 1. I think he can be a great 2 on a really good team, like a team that has a real number 1 where they're focused on him. And he would get a lot of balls because maybe they're doubling the 1 or having the safety over the top. But I look at him more as a 2. I thought he was a 1 about a year or 2 ago because I would see him make these unbelievable catches and I'm like, yo, this dude's nice.
Like one of those talented guys in the league at times,
right? But then it's like he has games where he just disappears, and it's like, okay, you can't be a 1 and do that because most of the 1s, even bad games they at least have 5 catches, 75 yards. You know what I mean?
You can't have a 1 catch for 0-yard game.
Exactly, or you can't have 1 catch for 15 yards. That's not a 1
against a defense that's not that great. Like
right, exactly, and that's my thing. That's why I asked you the question.
Yeah,
because with him, it's like you see the talent, you see what he's capable of doing, but it just hasn't come out yet. It just hasn't been brought out, or like I said, and like I don't want to say the Steelers are a great organization. I don't want to say he's not on the right team or the right offense. But I think maybe if he is still going to be a Steeler, you guys have to get a real 1 where they could take the pressure off him, where he's just worried about okay when the 1 is doubled or they got the safety over the top, right? Then he can get the ball. You know what I mean? That's what I think he's more inclined to be going forward. For the future.
Yeah, no, I think that was well said. I think for me, one of the reasons why he struggled as a number 1 this year too is they've had no consistency at the number 2 wide receiver spot, like none. Like they went and traded for Mike Williams, who has made some nice catches when the ball's thrown his way, but they just don't throw to him. Maybe he's just not creating the separation, and they don't want to take any risks by throwing him like a 1-on-1 ball. But I think they need to really get a little more creative on offense. At this point, it's really late in the season. I doubt they're going to just completely change what they've been doing, but they don't really utilize the middle of the field with Russell Wilson a lot. Like I don't see a lot of slant routes. I don't see a lot of things like trying to take advantage of the middle of the field. They always try to, throw towards the hash marks. So they try to, do it. You'll see a lot of catches on the sidelines. So I would like to see them utilize the middle of the field a little bit more, especially with like Fryermuth, who I think is a really good
That's
tight
what I
end.
was gonna say. I love Fryermuth, bro. He's probably been your most consistent, receiver. I know he's a tight end, but he's been your most consistent catcher. You know what I mean? And getting back to Mike Williams, brought up a good point.
Yeah.
Mike Williams to me reminds me a lot of Pickens. Has number one talent, but he's not really a number one. And that's the problem I think the Steelers have. They have a lot of guys that have of a talent of number one, but they don't really have. They're not number ones. You know what I mean? You need that number one guy. You know what I mean?
One of the receivers I do hope can emerge into a good number two and we saw him in person. He had a big play in that Chargers game. Is Calvin Austin?
Yes.
If you remember, he caught that pass across the middle, just ran it like 50 yards.
Right.
You want to see them utilize him more. He's a good kick returner too. He had a punt return early this year against the Giants. So
gotcha.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I don't really see a scenario where the Steelers walk out of there with a win, but it's a divisional game. You never know, and they've defended Lamar Jackson well over the years. So
I was gonna say there's a lot of pressure on Lamar. I mean, I know. He has to. Obviously he's been to one AFC Championship game. You know what I mean? He's gotten the monkey off his back. He has 2 playoff wins, but he has to start winning more of these playoff games consistently. So it's a lot of pressure on him. You know what I mean? Because they win with him. Really, I mean, like if they lose on Sunday, all the pressure. He's gonna have to answer all those questions. That's gonna be on him. Of why he didn't get it done.
Long off season.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he's getting paid. He's getting paid a lot of money. So, it's almost like the Dak thing. Like, you got to show and prove. They're paying you now, so you got to do something.
Yep,
so.
I agree. Next one up, man. So those were the Saturday games. Sunday, we got the first game is going to be Broncos at Bills. Shout out to the Broncos, man. Sean Payton's done a good job kind of turning that thing around. I think they were one of the surprise teams to make the playoffs this year. Bo Nix definitely showed some signs of being a solid quarterback. I don't know if I see superstar or but I do see a good, solid quarterback they could have for a while.
Yeah, I agree.
Broncos, Bills, who you got?
I got the Bills. The Broncos D is really good. Like you said, Bo Nix is good and solid. Bills are at home. Now, the Broncos do play in cold weather as well, so it's not as big of a factor like them, coming into a cold weather. But I do think the cross country is going to affect them. Obviously they're coming from Denver all the way northeast to Buffalo, so I think that might be a factor. I don't know what the weather of this game is going to be because, like I said, they're both used to playing kind of in cold weather, snow. But I mean, look, Josh Allen is supposedly the MVP frontrunner, obviously along with Lamar as well. So this is the game to kind of show, I'm that guy, I'm that dude. Put the team on your back and ride Josh Allen and
show why you're MVP. Yeah,
right. Show why you're MVP. And I like the Bills. I think the Bills should win big. To be honest with you, I like them by like
they're 9-point favorites. You like them to cover,
right? I like them by like 2 touchdowns. They should win this game by 2 touchdowns. I think if it's close, they're going to be in trouble. Like if it's like a less than a touchdown game, then I'd be a concern if I'm the Bills.
Would you say that's always the case though for home teams? Like if you let the road team kind of stick around, especially in the playoffs, would you say like, that's always kind of the issue?
But I think certain teams, certain games, if they're both really good teams, you expect that, right? Like if it's Bills Chiefs, right? You expect that to be close. I don't see either one blowing each other out. It's going to be close. Obviously, you may say, okay, the home team may have a little edge. They should pull it out at the end. But this is a 2 versus a 7. Like, you're supposed to take care of business. You know what I mean? I look at the playoffs like kind of like in everything. Whether it's the NFL or baseball, when you're the higher seed, you got to take care of business. You're the favorite. You're supposed to put your foot on their necks and kill them. You know what I mean? So that's what I expect the Bills to do. And like I said, I think the Bills will win pretty handily. Like I said, I like them by 2 touchdowns. I think they'll control the game. They'll go up early. The Broncos will try to, obviously make a little fight, come back. But in the end, I still think, the Bills win big by at least 2 touchdowns.
I think what the Broncos have to be careful of is don't let the Bills get off to a quick start because if they get off to if any team gets off to a quick start, it's good. But particularly Buffalo, because I would argue that, maybe besides Arrowhead, that's probably the hardest place to win a game. I mean, they went undefeated at home this year. So they are insanely tough to beat in Buffalo, man. Like, you have to not only get a lead, but you have to make sure you capitalize on when they, have to punt. And you You legit have to go up like 21-3 or 21-10. Like you
Right.
really have to make
But
sure.
that may not even work. Well, I remember with that opening game against the Cardinals, dude. The Cardinals were up 17-0,
Man,
and they literally came back and won by double digits. Like
that's so explosive.
that's what I'm saying. Like that's why like no lead is safe there, or even like against Josh Allen, because it's like okay, they can be down 14-0. All right, like I'm still not gonna be like, oh, it's over. I'm gonna be like, yeah, just watch, just give it time. You know what I
And
mean?
one thing I like about, I think one of the criticisms of the Ravens sometimes is they get a little out of character when they're down. Like they start to get
Mm,
pass heavy. Like you
hmm.
still have Derrick Henry. You still like stick to what you do well. Like stick to what's
Right,
got you to
right,
where you're at. And one thing I like about the Bills, they kind of stay on schedule when they're down. They don't really get like, all right, man, let's just completely switch it up. And I think what the Ravens have to do throughout these playoffs, if they want to get to the Super Bowl, which they can, they got to stick to the script, man. Even if you're down 7 in the first quarter or in the second quarter, like it's fine. Even the third quarter, you're down 7. That's not a big deficit. Give the ball to Henry.
right,
Henry, I actually think, yeah, Lamar is probably going to win MVP, but I think Henry is the major X factor
right.
in the playoffs for the Ravens on
But I
offense.
think the difference between the Bills and the Ravens is that, like you said, right, they stick to the script. But I feel like Josh Allen may be even better when they're down. Like it's almost like he's like,
Oh
"Ooh, okay,
man,
I got this." Like because I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes this year. Like they're down, he's like he just turns into another person.
he
Like
does.
it's like, okay, I'm about to just put this team on my back and we
And
go.
he'll start running the ball here.
Right, running, throwing. He does whatever it takes, and that's something you. I mean, first of all, for a quarterback, I mean, it's like whoa, like he just like it just gets into another mindset. It's like you always say that dog mentality. It's like, oh, the dog comes out, like, okay, I'm down 14, cool, I got this.
I'm such a big fan of him, man. He's such a baller. I love that dude. As you know, I say it on the podcast. I say it on the podcast every week. He's my favorite non-stealer. He's awesome. He's
Yeah,
awesome.
so yeah,
Yeah,
but like
so
I
yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
I obviously I know you said you like the Bills too,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, I
Yeah.
do, but I actually think this game's closer than you think. I feel
Okay.
like the way the Broncos defense has been playing, Patrick Surtain is probably the defensive player of the year. I think he's actually favored to win it. I think he might be. He was
Hmm.
awesome this year. He shut down like everyone. But I
Right.
think the tough part about matching up with the Bills is they don't really have like a true one. Like they have like a bunch of like,
Yeah. Right.
which is
Exactly.
dangerous at times because you don't really, because like they have Cooper, they have Kincaid, they have like a lot of Shakur, they have like a lot of different options. So it's hard to kind of game plan against that, and I think that's going to work in the Bills' advantage. So I do think Denver will keep things interesting. Because one thing we can say about the Bills, they have some games where the defense is kind of like oh, what's going on
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
understand it's Detroit, and like they can score on anyone. Remember, they allowed like 40 something points against Detroit. They had a couple other
Hmm.
teams where like, oh, they're kind of putting up points on you. So, and one thing about Denver, they can be low key kind of nice offensively. Like they've had some games where they dropped 30 something quite a few times this year. So
Yeah, what I was going to say, I think the Bills too. The one thing, going back to the Bills, why another reason why they're so good is they can win in a shootout because
yeah,
they've
they can
proven
win
that.
any style. Yeah, they
Right,
can.
that's the thing. So
Yeah,
even if the Broncos are to put up points, and you say like, oh wow, Broncos can, they put up points. I don't think that really ruffles or bothers the Bills. It's like actually, again, I think more Josh Allen's like laughing, like, oh, this is what I want. This is
right.
exactly what I'm feeding into. It's like I said, the dog comes out. It's like, okay, cool, let's keep it going. You score, I score, and let's see who gets it at the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep, I agree. I guess
Yeah.
I think that game's going to be closer than you think, but I'm going to go. I'm going to go the Bills. I think that's one of those 30 to 24, 30 to 23 type games.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Next one up. I like this game, man. I like Packers at Eagles. I think this is a very fascinating matchup. Who you got in that one?
I actually don't think it's a good game. I think the Eagles win easily. The
Why is that?
Packers,
I'm very
I don't.
curious.
The Packers are a little overrated this year. Jordan Love turns over the ball too much. He
Hmm.
throws too many picks. They're back to that Packer D. Remember I used to talk about Packer
You
D?
don't even feel
Yeah, they're not
it.
that good. Yeah, they look that like that now. Like, yeah, like look at the last couple of weeks, except with the exception of that Saints game where they like shut them out. They haven't really looked that good. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not. I think the Eagles are going to win easily. To be honest with you,
Easily. Wow.
easily. Yeah, Hurts is coming back. Are they going to stop Saquon? I don't have confidence they are.
Yeah,
Like I said,
nobody really can do that.
yeah, their D is not that great. And you still have Brown and Smith on the on two sides. Yeah, I like the Eagles big in this one too.
There's definitely a talent difference. I think the Eagles.
Yeah, and then like I said, if Jordan Love starts turning over the ball, like we know he can, like throwing picks, it's a wrap. Like it's like yeah, like this is what I kind of expected.
You
You know
like
what I
Love
mean?
though, right?
I'm sorry.
You like Love though, right?
I do, but then at some points, sometimes I'm like, is he going to be one of those quarterbacks like that has that potential to be really good, and we're never going to see
we
it?
never
Like,
see it.
yeah, it's like, oh yeah, like he had that 1 or 2 years where he was cool, and then it's like, oh, you're just basic, or you're like, eh. You know what I mean? That's what I wonder with him. And obviously with Christian Watson going now, which is another big thing.
That is big. I mean,
now that other, I forgot the other receiver who's not that bad.
They got Reed. They got
Reed is pretty good.
Romeo Dobbs.
Yep. Romeo Dobbs. Yeah. They're not
cool. They're cool.
They're cool, right? They're not bad. But if you're going, I mean, the Eagles' defense is really good. I mean, they have one of the best secondaries. So I can't believe I'm saying that because last year they were awful. I think the Eagles win big. I really don't see any way the Packers win this game. Even if Jordan Love doesn't throw any picks, because he ain't doing what he did to Dallas last year. I'll tell you that ain't happening against the Eagles. You know what I mean?
I don't see that.
No, because the Eagles, first of all, even if he does ball out a little bit, the Eagles still can score on them. Because I don't like the Packers D, so they'll still run, throw. And if you ask me who's going to win in the shootout, I like Hurts in that offense to outduel them. You know what I mean? But I don't think it will even come to that. I think the Eagles will control the game. I look at this similar to the Buffalo game. I think they win by double digits.
This is interesting because I actually kind of think this could be an upset.
How?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. Well, this is why we go. You know, this is why.
Okay, so I'm all ears. I got my chair. I had to straighten up. Like, yeah, I'm listening.
So one thing about the Packers is like, yeah, they kind of looked a little like inconsistent throughout the year, but they're always in games, D. Like they never really, even in their losses, like they're all kind of close. Like they lost to the Lions by 3. They lost to the who else did they lose to? They lost to the Vikings by 2. They lost to the Eagles by 5. Like they don't get blown out. Like they're always in games. They're just competitive. Like one thing I like about LaFleur, he's a really good play caller. They're going to be aggressive. Now, that aggressiveness has kind of led to some Jordan Love turnovers, but dude, they're competitive every week. Like they don't get blown out like that. Even against the 2 games against the Lions, like they faced some adversity, but they battled back. They always battle back. And I think that's kind of the makeup of their team, right? Like you can't really, it's hard to kind of put them out, right? Like they have a quarterback who's not afraid to make any any pass. They have one thing you didn't bring up. They have a super physical running back. Like that dude can kind of wear down your defense. He's one of the more physical running backs to lead with Josh Jacobs. So I don't love their defense, especially without Jair Alexander, who's one of the better corners in the league.
Right. I forgot about that.
But then like, what Hurts are you going to get? Their pass game was really not that great this year. I think they were ranked like 29th. But then again, they run the ball a lot, right?
But I'm saying, are they going to stop Saquon? Like, I don't have any confidence they're going to stop Saquon.
Probably not, but no one does.
See, like, I like Josh Jacobs, but
yeah, he's good.
I don't think he's going to do that great against. I mean, the Eagles' defense is really good. So, like, yeah, he's a powerful running back, but has anybody even had 100 yards on the Eagles this year? Like,
no, that's true. But let's not act like Love. I mean, Love can make plays. It's not like Love.
Oh, he can. Yeah, I'm not saying he can't. And remember, when they played them early in the year, it was the first game of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're totally two different. Like the teams are totally different now. Like the Eagles are, to me, like far better than they are. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're in the playoffs, but it's like, yeah, like I'm. Like I said, I forgot about Jair Alexander. That's actually more detriment to them because it's like,
yeah, it's not good for them because that's their best player.
Exactly. So,
period. Yeah, I think so.
Exactly. So, I agree with you. The Eagles' pass game hasn't been great, but if the Packers D it was already like in with Jair and they don't have him, oh my God! Like, yeah, Hurts may look like Montana back there on Sunday.
Yeah, just not like Hurts is just okay to me.
I agree. I think he's okay too, but I told you, I'm not big on that Packer D. Like, yeah, when your D's
we know for a fact that the better team doesn't always win. Remember, it is one game.
Right, it is.
I think this would be a game where the Packers just do a little bit more. I'm going to go upset. Why not? I'm going to go 27-28 Packers. Screw it. Upset.
Okay. When he starts throwing them picks and then you see that D looking, you're going to text me like, yeah, that Packer D. I'm going to be like, yeah, I told you.
He acting like Love be throwing like 3 picks a game or something. He'll throw like
he has though.
Not often. He doesn't do like 3. No, he always has to get that one out of the way. He's kind of like Favre. Let me get that one out of the way, and then remember he gets compared to Favre a lot. Like he gets a little like he's like a gunslinger, So he always has to get the one pick out of the way. But then once he gets out of the way, he's good.
Okay. All right.
All right. We'll see. All right. Well, I'm gonna assume you think this next game is gonna be great. I'm very excited about Commanders Bucks. I think that's gonna be a blast. Who you got in that one?
Yeah, this was a tough one to go back and forth with.
This is a fun matchup.
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking to shout out to our boy Nick last night. We were talking about this game, and I'm only taking the Bucks because they're at home, but I think it's going to be a great game.
It's going to be fun.
I actually think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be a lot of points scored.
The over-unders, I think it's 50.5.
So, yeah, because the first time they played, I think they scored what 50. It was like 57 points the first time when they played.
I don't remember if it was that. It was a lot of points for sure.
Yeah, it was 30. Well, the Bucks won 37-20, but yeah, it was 57 points.
Oh, you mean total? Yeah.
Yeah, total. I'm talking about total. Yeah, total. Mm-hmm. So that's right on the head. If I'm a betting person, I take the over. Yeah, I mean this game.
You're a betting person, so you'll take the over.
Yeah, but I don't really bet in the playoffs. I don't think I'm going to be betting in the playoffs. I only bet regular season. So
yeah, same.
Yeah, I'm only taking the Bucks slightly because they're at home. I see this game kind of like the Ravens game. Not obviously not defensively like low scoring, but as far as close, like I think the Bucks. I only have the Bucks by like a field goal. But if the Commanders were to win, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not gonna be like, oh wow, they won.
Dude, I think the Commanders were 12-5. I feel like that doesn't get like talked about enough. I don't know why I always thought I thought they were like 10-7 or something. Like they won 12 games this year.
Yeah, man. Wow, yeah, first time they've done it in like 14 years or something like that.
That's awesome. What a great season. If I'm a Commanders fan, man, I don't even care how the season ends. What a great season.
But the Bucks at home are just they're different. And then Baker, Baker's been. I mean, we've been talking about Baker for the last 2 years. I mean, it's no surprise to Baker anymore. I think it's not a fluke anymore. He's a good quarterback.
He's really good. That's a great.
And the most impressive story is Mike Evans, man. I mean, this guy is really age-wise past his prime, but he's still balling like he's in his prime. Like he looks unstoppable sometimes. Like when Baker throws him the ball, it's like he's catching it. Like you're not stopping him.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah. Because then he broke Jerry Rice or tied Jerry Rice's record, right?
Most consecutive 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
his career, he's never not had 1,000 yards.
Exactly, like that's what I'm saying, dude. It's like, and I've watched Bucks games. He looks sometimes unstoppable. Like so literally, Baker throws on the ball, he's catching it, and it can be, and it's on double teams, jump ball. It doesn't matter. Like, and the one thing I've said all year about that Commanders D is that I look at it kind of like the Packer D. They're okay. You know what I mean? But
they're more opportunistic than anything.
Right. They're more opportunistic, but they're really they bend a lot. They bend don't break, but they bend a lot.
They do bend.
And I don't know if you can bend a lot to this offense, And then I like Irving at the running back they have. And then those other Buck receivers, I don't know them pretty. They have that guy, that Miller receiver, who seems every time like Baker's in trouble, he comes up with a great catch to bail him out. So yeah, I like the Bucks slightly, but I think it's high scoring. I think the Commanders do put up points when Jade either throwing or running. Because the Bucks D, to be honest, the Commanders, Packers, and Bucks D are all about the same. They're like, So I think that's why it'll be a really high scoring game. Like you said, I think the over under is 50. I would definitely take the over because I think it's going to get into the 30s. So I would say I like the Bucks like 38-35. I think
it's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
So for me, I the Bucks being at home is like cool, but like they were 5-4 at home, so they're not like. One thing I like about them, they can beat you on the road too. Like
they can.
Didn't they? Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they win in Detroit this year?
They did.
Yeah.
Detroit only home loss.
Detroit is so good.
Oh no! They lost to the Bills too, right? Yeah. They lost twice at home, right? They lost to the Bills.
Yep.
Yeah, they lost to the Bills. Yeah.
So I actually like the Commanders here, and you're probably not surprised. This game,
if the game go either way.
Yeah, super high scoring. I agree. I think it's gonna be one of them 38-34, 38-33 type games.
Right.
I just feel like Baker, as good as he is, he does still throw them picks. I mean, I think he might have led the league in picks this year, but he also had 40 touchdowns.
Oh, I didn't know that. He led the league in picks?
He was one of the league. He was up there. I'm not 100%.
Oh, okay.
So this season he had 16 picks. That's kind of a lot of picks.
Right. Who led the league in picks?
But he had 41 touchdowns. So he was.
Was it Love?
No, see, I remember Love missed some games too.
So yeah.
I'm actually looking right now because I'm actually curious myself. So it might have been your boy Gino. Let's see.
Oh, because he had a rack of yards.
It was actually him and Cousins. Oh Lord.
Oh, that's right.
No,
I
Cousins.
remember that game. He had like 5.
Cousins and Baker both had 16, but Baker had 41 touchdowns. Cousins had 18. Cousins did not have a good year. 18 touchdowns and 16 picks. Remember, I told you that's like when you have that backup come in. Like, oh yeah, he had like 18 and like 16. Like, okay,
right. Not for a starter.
That's cool for like a backup. Like,
not for a starter though.
Yeah, so I think the Commanders are just going to take a little bit better care of the ball because they can score with anyone. The Commanders,
right.
I think they're going to score. I think they're going to be able to really have I think their offense is just going to be able to click. I think the passing game is going to be Terry McLaurin had a great season too, but I don't think the Bucs defense is going to be able to get the stop that they need. And I think Baker might throw that one pick where it's like, dang, that's kind of a backbreaker. So I'm depending on the Commanders taking better care of the ball. That's why I like them. But that's going to be a great game. That's like one of the best games this weekend, I think. Yeah. Last one, Vikings at the Rams. Very interesting matchup. Of course, the Vikings won 14 games, but they ended up being the 5 seed.
Right.
Now that game, unfortunately, we're thinking of all of our LA people. Shout out.
Prayers go up for California and LA, man.
Shout out to my home state. But that game it looks like that game might get moved to Arizona because of the fires. And as of right now, the Vikings are a 1-point favorite. So pretty much it's a pick 'em. Like,
right.
50-50 with this one. What do you I'm very curious what you think about this. I have no idea who you got.
Yeah, this is similar to the Commanders-Bucks game. If I was a betting man and then like to pick the winner, I'm actually going to go with the Rams on this one. I just think the experience with Stafford and having, Cooper Kupp, you know what I mean? And then I'm blanking on another receiver's name.
Puka
Nacua, yeah. I always get his name wrong. I can't pronounce it. So. Puka, yeah. So, yeah, and I like their running back, Williams. You know what I mean? Now, Vikings D is really good. That's the other thing.
Very good.
So, that's going to be a really good chess match between McVay and Flores. But, this is Sam Darnold's first time in the playoffs. I want to say going off the regular season, it should carry over, but you just never know. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You don't. I mean, he has the weapons. He has, Aaron Jones, a running back. He has, the Jet, arguably the best receiver in the league, and he has Addison. He has the weapons, but you just don't know in a guy's first playoff game how they're going to play. So, again, because like you said, it's like a pick 'em, I'm leaning more towards the Rams in a close game. Like, probably like by a field goal. I think this game can also turn out to be high scoring, even though I know the Vikings D is good, but it can end up being kind of a shootout. It just depends. It really depends on Darnold. You know what I mean? I know what Stafford's going to give me, right? Because he's a veteran. We know what Stafford's going to do. He's been in McVay's system for, 5 years now. So it's like we already know what Stafford's going to be. But I'm leaning towards the Rams in this one, probably by like a field goal. I can see this being like a 28-25 kind of game. You know what I mean?
Some good games this weekend.
Yeah. I don't think it'll go into the 30s, but it definitely will be in the 20s. But I still like the Rams maybe by like a touchdown. I mean, not a touchdown, by a field goal. Even though, like I said, I love the Vikings D. It just really depends on Darnold, how he plays, because it's his first playoff game.
He's such a wild card.
Man. Exactly. We don't know that. Right. You don't know. I mean, like I said, you would think if the regular season carries over to the play, but it always doesn't. You know what I mean? Sometimes the true colors kind of show in the playoffs, like, yeah, he was good in the regular season, but yeah, he wasn't that good in the playoffs. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Rams as a safe bet, like, probably by a field goal.
Wow, yeah, I'm a little more confident in Darnold than people are. He had a really good year, and I don't think he's just gonna fall off a cliff automatically. Now, the one thing I like about the Rams defense, they don't have a lot of like big names, but they're very fast, very quick defense, very aggressive,
underrated.
Yeah, they're definitely underrated. Like I said, they don't have any like superstar guys.
Right,
they play well as a unit. I'm going to go Vikings. I actually don't have a problem going Vikings here. I know that this game is kind of tough for people to pick, but I'm just going to go with what I've seen throughout the season. 14, you go 14-3 or whatever. In any other year, you're the 1 seed, right?
Right,
so
right.
This is a 1 seed going up against a 4. I'm always going to put my money on the 1, even if it's in their house. And let's be real, like even if it was in LA, the Rams ain't really got no home field.
No, it's going to be like 50% Viking fans.
It's going to be more. I think 60% Viking.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the Vikings here. A lot of the points you made, I won't repeat too many of them, but like Brian Flores and that defense is the Rams are a little spotty at times. Like sometimes they can look really explosive, and sometimes it's like, man, they left something to be desired there. I think we saw a little bit more consistency from the Vikings offense the last 4 weeks of the season, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to roll with that. I know they lost to the Lions, but losing to the Lions ain't a bad thing. That's a fantastic team, so I'm gonna go Vikings here, man. I think the Vikings potentially even get to the title game. And I still even like their Super Bowl chances. I know it's going to be tough, obviously, having to go potentially to Philly, having to go back to Detroit. But anytime you're playing a divisional opponent, there's that familiarity. So I'm going to go Vikings here. I'm pretty confident with this one.
Cool.
Ooh, man, it's going to be fun. You're going to be just chilling on the couch watching?
Yeah. Saturday, Sunday, because of course we live in the East Coast. We're supposed to get some more snow, so Saturday definitely. Yeah, Sunday for sure as well too, and then I'll be watching Monday as well, even though I gotta go to work and everything. But I'll definitely still watch. It's the playoffs. I can't really miss.
I love it. So super quick, this can be, you can breeze through this in 30 seconds. We obviously gave who we think is going to win each game. Who are you rooting for to win each game? Just real quick. I'll just go through them real quick. Who are you rooting for? Chargers, Texans?
I don't really care. I don't know.
You can also not care. That's fine.
Yeah, that one is like a
Steelers, Ravens.
Steelers.
Broncos, Bills.
Bills.
Packers, Eagles.
Ugh. I don't really like them, either one of them, because they're kind of nemesis of the Dallas, so I don't really care.
Okay, and then Commanders, Bucks. And then Vikings, Rams, who are you rooting for?
Yeah, similar to that one too. I don't really have a dog in that one either. Yeah, I just hope for a good game. The ones I don't care about, just like, oh, if it's a good game, cool.
Yeah, I don't think many people care about Chargers, Texans.
Nah, that probably is gonna be like the lowest rated watch one too. Like,
typically the first game, the Saturday 4:30 game, they put it there for a reason.
Exactly right. It's gonna be out. Well, it's supposed to snow here, but the rest of the country, people be out and about, and if they're sitting at a restaurant, a bar, like, oh, the game's on. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of one of those.
Yeah, you said that. About that one. So, we'll do one more thing before we wrap things up, man. So, there's obviously a couple of head coaching vacancies, and I'll just say all the teams real quick: Patriots, Jets, Jags, Bears, Raiders, and Saints all have coaching vacancies. Before I get into the question, real quick, between all those, and it can be a 5-second answer, which one do you think is the most attractive opening?
Wait, say them again. I'm sorry. Can you just go say them again? I'm sorry. You have to repeat yourself.
Jets, which that you ain't gonna pick that. Jags, Bears, Raiders, Saints.
The Bears. It's between the Bears and the Jags because they have the quarterback. That's what I go for.
Do the Jags have the quarterback?
Oh yeah.
Well, we think they do. I don't know.
That's the thing. Like, I still think Trevor Lawrence can be good. I don't know if it's a mental thing with him, or obviously he's been hurt a little bit too, but I still want to say he's going to be good. You know what I mean? Because he was 2 years ago, not like obviously the season before this one, he was good. So so it's like I don't want to say he is just not good anymore. And he just got paid too. So I don't know. I mean,
they've just fallen off a cliff since the
they've definitely, because they were them and the Texans were supposed to fight for that division. That we all thought that before the season, they're going to be fighting for that division. But so I mean, the Bears for sure is the most attractive. I would say the Jags are 2. The other 3, I don't know.
Yeah, the Saints are weird because it's not a bad job, but I think their cap situation is not great. They have no quarterback because I'm sorry, Carr is just whatever. So So all those places.
I finally admitted about Carr. You had me finally make. I used to think he was.
I've always been like, it's just whatever.
Yeah, definitely whatever.
It's whatever.
It's like,
whatever. So we're gonna go through just real quick. You don't have to necessarily give a particular coach you'd like to see there because that can get tricky. We don't know who's gonna leave. It's not like every coach is like, hey, I'm available. You just never know. But you can just pretty much tell me if you think, oh, they should go defensive, they can go offensive, or if you have a name, that works too. So I'm going to go through all these openings and tell me what you would like to see there. So the first one I'll start with is the Patriots. But very interesting story developed with the Patriots and them firing Gerard Mayo and some of the things that kind of went down throughout the season. So according to The Athletic, there was an incident after they lost to the Cardinals during their plane ride back home. The report was saying that instead of reviewing film with the coaching staff, which I guess a lot of the coaches do on the plane, he was playing cards with the players. Now, You may not think this is a big deal. You may think it is. Of course, I don't think you should be playing cards instead of watching film. But at the same time, maybe you can argue, oh, it's that, establishing that bond with the players. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. But what were your thoughts on that report?
I thought it was first of all, I thought it was hilarious. Uh, yeah, because I think I was the one that called you and told you about it, and then on top of that, while it's hilarious, it's also sad because it's like, he's an African American coach, and you know how, it's already hard for African American coaches in this league,
The
right?
room for error is small.
Exactly. Like if they don't see positivity in the first year, you're pretty much gone. If they don't see an upside, like they're gonna be like, nah, this person's gone. With that being said, everything before he got hired, we had heard great things about him, right? Like how he
Players love
was.
him. Players love him.
Players loved him. I don't know. I wonder, was he really ready for that job or ready for that spot, right?
Yeah, that's the
Like
question.
maybe he needed a little more years or more time being a coordinator, like a defensive coordinator.
He was good. He was a good DC.
Exactly. Being a head coach, he may be getting more time. Because remember, he just played like a few years ago.
He's still pretty
Like,
fresh.
people forget that. Yeah, he was just a player a few years ago. So yeah, it just makes me wonder, did he need more time to really be a DC and kind of watch whether it was Belichick or somebody else be a head coach there and kind of learn, okay, this is what you do, what you don't do, how you kind of go about your business. I'm all for bonding with the players, being a player's coach. I'm all for that. But it's a time and place for that as well. You were a bad team. You lost. This is coming off a loss against the Cardinals. Now, if they had won, would this story be a big deal? No, because obviously if they were good and they won, I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. He probably should still be watching film. But if you had won the game, maybe I'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. It's not a big deal.
Rules change when you win.
Exactly. But you lost and you're a bad team.
Yeah.
It's just not a good look. You know what I mean? It's not a good look. It just shows that it's bad work ethic. You know what I mean?
What
And I don't know if you want
they should go. They got Drake May. They got
So this may be obvious. I mean, I'm sure you may have heard this. I think they should go get Mike Vrabel.
I love that.
He's
perfect.
He was a former Patriot.
Mm-hmm.
He's familiar with the city, the organization,
culture. Yeah,
you know what I mean. That stadium, all that. Like it's just so familiar for him. So if I'm the Patriots, I just go get Vrabel. And you know what? I'll take that back. The Patriots' job is actually attractive because I think Drake May is going to be a good, solid quarterback.
Yeah, and I like Robert Kraft as an owner.
Exactly. So
we didn't agree with firing the coach after 1 year.
Yeah,
we've seen other organizations do that. It's also now, like I said, the room for error for us is smaller, but we've seen it happen to white coaches too. You're a kid.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of it across the board. Whether they were bad, whether they were okay, especially if they were. Right. No, yeah, that was a disaster. But I'm just not big on firing a coach after the first year because you want to see progression. Like, I don't really care if they won 2 or 3 games, but let's say the next year you go to 7 wins. Like, oh, you're starting to see improvement. Yeah. Because I'm a big believer. I think we talked about this on the show. Like, you should give a coach at least 3 to 5 years, 3 at least, minimum.
Yeah, three might be when I know, like, all right, well, this ain't working out. Especially if your win total's going down.
But if you're seeing progression, for instance, like I just said, you see maybe 3 wins, right? Then he goes to 6 or 7. At least you're seeing improvement, right? So maybe that third year you're expecting at least to make the playoffs. Yes. That's what I'm looking for. It's like, okay, give an example. Dan Campbell. First year he was horrible.
They were terrible.
But then you saw progression. Remember, they missed the playoffs the second year, but they won 8 games. They won 8 and 9. You were like, okay, cool. And then they were good the third year. Remember, they made it to an NFC Championship game. And now this year, they're good again. So that's all I'm saying is that after the first year, I don't think that's a really good – that's not enough body of work for me to say, oh, this is not going in the right direction, because not every coach is just going to come out the gate starting – you're not always going to get a D'Amico Ryans. You know what I mean? You're not always going to get that, where he's first year – yeah, and to be honest, that rarely happens. Most coaches, it's a progression. It's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, depending on the talent they have a quarterback, they're probably not going to be that good. But obviously, you the next year, the year after that, like you said, the third year, you expect them to be like, okay, I know whether or not this is the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm going back to the question. Yeah, I think they should go with Vrabel.
Yeah, I think Vrabel works there. Yeah, as far as like how long you give a coach a chance, I agree. I think it should always be I say at least two, because at least usually you haven't had too much influence on the roster. And when you get hired in the off season, you have the draft, but like you still have a lot of players from the previous seasons. Like you
Right.
don't really get a chance to establish your own culture a lot of the time. Well, culture, sure, but like the talent on your team, you don't really get
Right.
to kind of filter that out for a couple of years. So I didn't love the move, but I do think it's a good job for sure. They've
Hmm.
built a stable organization, like I said, good ownership, a great history. So yeah, I think Vrabel there makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
What about the Jags? I'll go first on the Jags. I
Sure.
find it interesting that they fired Peterson, but they kept Trent Baalke, who I think is an issue. And I think to me the GM and the coach kind of have to go hand in hand. I don't love
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I guess he'll hire the next coach, but clearly it sucks 'cause I thought Peterson did a good job his first year. They made the playoffs. I thought it was a good
Right.
hire. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but Trent Baalke is a very polarizing GM. And speaking of GMs, I shout out to the Lions for one having Brad Holmes, a black GM. Hopefully we see
Hmm.
he's done such an incredible job with the Lions, and Trent Baalke has done the exact opposite with the Jags. So I think that job has there's it's okay. The owner is a pretty patient guy. He kind of stays out of the way, which I think
Right. Right. Right.
man. I just worry about the talent. Their defense kind of stinks. That they don't really have a lot of playmakers. Like Travis Etienne, excuse me, has his production has went down. Um,
Right.
I think for that job,
I like that
I
receiver they have though. The is it
oh
Mikey Robinson?
Brian is it
Brian
Brian?
Robinson
Yeah,
Jr.
Brian Thomas. I think it's
Brian
Thomas.
Thomas. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
he
good.
has a lot of
He's good.
upside. I think he's
Well,
going to
with
be
them,
good.
I definitely go with a offensive guy. You got to see what you get out of Trevor Lawrence, because remember, Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be like that generational type quarterback. You have to tap into that to see if he's still that dude. So like, I'm not necessarily. I don't want to always bring up like everybody wants to bring up Ben Johnson. But like, if I'm Ben Johnson, no, that's not a place that has a great history, but it's a place that's going to be patient, and you have a quarterback you can work with, which would be good. So, which direction do you think the Jags should go?
So it's funny that you bring up Ben Johnson, but I actually like the other side of the ball for the Lions. I actually like Aaron Glenn for this job. I think this is perfect for Aaron Glenn.
Mm,
I know
mm.
you're not big on defensive guys, but
I
first of all, you
shouldn't
said
say that. Not to cut you off, just real quick. Like, I just think the league is going in a different direction. I'm not saying defensive guys shouldn't be hired or anything like that.
right, but you mentioned in your own statement before that their defense stinks, right?
It
So
does, but their offense
I
stinks
get
too.
I get you have to fix Trevor Lawrence,
Yeah, their offense
but
sucks.
I think Aaron Glenn is a kind of guy that could come in. First of all, fix the defense, get him a great offensive coordinator
Yeah,
that can work with Trevor and get that offense back. Because I do think they have pieces. Like I agree, yes, NCN kind of fell off a cliff,
still talented
after
though. Yeah, he's still talented.
right, and then but I do like Brian Thomas. Like I said, I think he has a lot of upside.
Yeah,
I think
he's
he could
good.
be a really good receiver. And who knows with Trevor Lawrence? I don't know. Like I said, if it's a mental thing or if it's a him being hurt over the last this year and kind of banged up. But yeah, I actually like Aaron. I love Aaron Glenn for this job. It's a low pressure job, like you said. The GM, not
Mhm.
the GM. I'm sorry. The owner kind of stays out the way. Now I agree with you. The GM is kind of concerning. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
I
I
don't
don't
think
think he's a good
so.
GM.
No.
But I think Aaron Glenn for this job, this is a perfect job for him to be kind of, you don't have to, it's not high pressure. You know what I mean? He's going to be a first time coach. I think this is a perfect spot for Aaron Glenn.
You know what? Who another guy I hope we see at least get an OC job is. I want to see Byron Leftwich back in the league too. I thought he did a really good job with Tampa. He's a
He's
guy.
interviewing for a head coach, one of the head coaching spots. I just saw it today. Um, I just can't remember the team, but he's interviewing.
I think the Jags would make a lot of sense there too. Remember
Yeah.
he was going. He pretty much was like, I forgot the story, but he was like offered the gig, but then like it ended up going to Peterson.
Well,
But
he didn't want bulky.
they didn't want Balky. Yeah, so
Yeah,
maybe
he didn't want the GM, and that's
Yes,
why he
well,
turned it down.
maybe that won't work, but I think it would make sense.
Yeah,
I'm,
definitely, it
I'm
makes sense.
personally a big fan of former players going back to the team. One, because I think they're usually a little more patient with them. They already have the respect of the organization and the fan base, which is important. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Byron Leftwich there. I just don't know if that would necessarily work with the current GM situation. What about the Bears?
See, now that's why I like Ben Johnson.
Hmm.
Even though there was a report that came out today. Now, speaking of GMs, I am not a big Ryan Poles fan, even though he's a brother, and I was rooting for him. So supposedly he came out and said that I guess so. Ben John. Well, no, I don't. Oh, well, you know what? No, I'm getting that wrong. So apparently, it was a report that Ben Johnson wants a different GM. He doesn't want the Bears GM.
No.
So I guess Ryan Poles was like, well, I don't want to interview him then. Like, yeah, nah, he ain't coming here. So there's like a kind of fight between the GM and the ownership.
Hot mess.
Right, it's a mess, right? So,
no.
And I'm not. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I'm not a big. Well, no, you know what? I take that back. Ryan Poles did do a bad because this offseason did a great job. He got Keenan Allen.
He
got Swift.
Whole line.
Yeah, so I can't really say he's done a bad job, but the organization, the Chicago Bears organization, is just a mess. You know what I mean? Because it's well, of course they're a mess too.
Like the Jets, right?
Yeah, they're kind of right. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're as bad as the Jets, but yeah, they're a mess too. But yeah, I think Ben Johnson is actually perfect for this position because Caleb Williams. This, like I said, to me, this is the most attractive job because you have Caleb Williams, you have the quarterback. You have pieces on offense. I know Keenan Allen's getting a little older, but you have the guy they drafted from Washington last year, Romeo. I don't forget his. I can't pronounce his last name. There you go. Right. They still have Swift in the backfield, so they have talent. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think for me, this is the perfect spot for Ben Johnson. Now I don't know how they're going to work out that whole GM thing because he's. Yeah. I mean, it's just a report. I don't know if it's true or not, but they're saying that. Yeah, Ben Johnson's agent informed the Bears that if he was to come there, he would want a different GM. So I don't know how that's going to work, but I think he's a perfect, candidate for that job.
I would go a different direction here based off of what you had mentioned with the whole strange situation. This might not be a popular one, but I do think he deserves another shot because I think he did good things in Arizona. I actually like Cliff Kingsbury. I think he should get another shot, and he. I mean, dude, the Commanders have been really good this year. That's a really good story. People can say whatever they want about him in Arizona, but he did take that team to the playoffs. Remember that one year they started like 11-0? There was like a
but they fell off. They
did.
Yeah,
they did fall off.
They dived off a cliff.
Yeah, I'm not going to take that away from them. They still made the playoffs in a pretty tough division at that time. So I like Cliff Kingsbury, man. I hope he gets another shot. I think he deserves another shot. Maybe he can be an OC another year or so, but I think he will get another chance at some point. So
I heard he's really good with the players. He's a players coach. I heard players love him. The only thing negative I've heard about him is that he could kind of be when it's adversity or when they're down, he kind of like gets a little lost, doesn't know what he's doing. Not stubborn. No, he gets very panicky. Like almost like, oh, we're losing. Like, what do I do? You know what I mean? Kind of thing. That's the negative I've heard. No, he's not stubborn at all. Players love him. It's just that the reports are one of the reasons why he lost the job in Arizona was that, when things were going bad, he wasn't somebody that could kind of rally the troops. You know what I mean? Yeah. He was more like panicking or like, oh, what do I do? And he kind of was like almost lost. So I think that's what's kind of been the knock on him. Yeah. Like when things are going great, it's great. You know what I mean? It's like he's rolling, boom. But when things are kind of going bad, it's like he's not really a guy that can galvanize the troops, back. You know what I mean? And because it's just not his personality. For sure. So I don't know if he'd be necessarily great for the Bears job because I think the Bears need somebody in there that can do that. Even though Ben Johnson would be a first-time coach, I mean, I just love his play calling and what he can do creatively, right? And I think the Bears need I agree with you. The Bears need an offensive coach.
They got to go offensive.
Yeah, they can't do defense. Yeah, please stop with the defensive minded coaching.
He was offensive, but he just
exactly. Yeah, but please go to offensive coach. So yeah, but I like Johnson a little more than Kingsbury at that spot. Yeah,
just go offensive play caller. We're both
right.
I agree. I think in the same thing. How about the Raiders?
Oh God. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know, bro. They're like a lost cause to me because they've had 4 coaches in the last 5 years. I can't even say go offense or defense. I mean, they've had, because I mean Gruden is kind of a more offense, right? They got McDaniels is really offense. Antonio Pierce is more defense. I mean, none of them worked out. You know what I mean? I really don't know, bro. I don't even know who would want this job. To be honest with you,
Raiders.
I mean, they're talking about bringing Gruden back.
Oh God!
Yeah, I'm being real.
I think the Raiders are interesting because I'm kind of a bigger fan of Mark Davis than most people are. One, because I think Mark Davis is I'm gonna tell you why. I think Mark Davis is actually a guy that he's given people opportunities. Like, well, Gruden. I mean, Gruden did that to himself.
Right. The Gruden thing is an anomaly, right? He did that to himself because he would have still been there if that didn't happen.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I didn't mind the Josh McDaniels hire at the time. I like. Did I think it would work out? Not really, but
yeah, I've never been a big fan of Josh McDaniels as a head coach. As an OC, fine, but never as a head coach.
I didn't necessarily mind that hire either. But the only reason I don't mind him as much is because this isn't going to be a great example, but I was going to say I feel like he's a guy that's also kind of patient, and I like, you know what, the Antonio Pierce thing didn't work out, but I'm glad that he gave Pierce that opportunity, because a lot of people were like, oh, you know, he became the interim coach and he gave him that shot. Now you have Brady involved, so it's going to be very interesting to see the decisions that they make in the front office. But I'm nervous for the guy I have in mind, because I don't want it to fail, because if it fails again, he's not going to get another head coaching job. Maybe Brian Flores in there. Bring a guy that's a disciplinarian, a guy that's going to come in there and you know, I think he's a good guy for the culture, because he's a very strict, very disciplinarian type guy. Obviously, Brady, there's the ties there with New England.
Right.
I think that could be a good fit. What would you think about that?
I think Brady was probably one more of an offensive-minded coach, because he's Brady. You know, he's a quarterback. Yeah, you know, he's probably more an offensive guy. He's going to see offense. Now, that's a good idea. I do like the blindfold, the connection with the Patriots and all that. The problem with the Raiders I have is, like, you say you're a big fan of Mark. He does give people a chance. The problem with Mark, he doesn't have patience, because, like, he's canned coaches within 1 year, 2 years. You know what I mean? Again,
but
Gruden's different, because he did that to himself. Again, Gruden still would have been there.
Though McDaniels was there for, it wasn't like a 1 year thing. Like, he gave him some.
He got canned in his third year, right? Third year.
They were bad. That's fine.
Yeah, they were bad. Yeah,
2 years you can get rid of a guy. That's fine.
Right, exactly. Because I think he was going into his third year when they canned him in the middle of the season. Yeah, I mean, again, I wasn't a big fan of that hire anyway. Like I told you, I think Josh McDaniels is a better OC than a coach, because he was a disaster in Denver. So I kind of knew that wasn't going to work. I just wonder now, with Brady being there, maybe they'll have a little more patience, you know, depending who the guy is. Because I think you're right. If they bring in Flores, because Brady has that connection with them, and he can probably be an ear in Mark Davis to say, hey, don't go out the first year. Let's give him some time.
They'll give it time. Because of the New England connection, he may get more time.
Exactly. So, yeah, you may be right on that. But I do think they need more. I'm sorry. I think Brady – I just have a funny feeling Brady's going to go more offense. He wants an offensive-minded coach.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good point, though. I didn't think about that. But I think when I think of the Raiders, I think of undisciplined. They always lead the league. They're up there with league leaders and penalties. They're just always undisciplined.
I mean, like I said, if you listen to the reports, it doesn't sound promising, because I said they're trying to. There's talks that they want to bring Gruden back, and then I guess there was another report today that they may try to talk Belichick out of going out of UNC. Yeah, it's like, okay, this is not really off to a good start. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. I don't trust the organization as much as you trust them. I don't trust them like that. Even though they have Brady now, but who knows? Brady wasn't that great in the booth, so who knows he's going to be a good executive. You know what I mean?
Those are different, though.
Yeah, they are. That's true. They are. But, you know, we can't just assume that Brady's going to be like this great executive. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Real quick, I actually skipped over them. The Jets.
The Jets are, to me, like the Raiders. Who would want this job? Like, Woody Johnson may be one of the worst owners.
More attractive than the Jets.
I agree. The Raiders are, because Woody Johnson is one of the worst owners in sports, not just in the NFL, in all of sports. Like, you want to talk about somebody who has zero patience. Like,
oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, dude. Yeah, I don't.
He is terrible.
Who the hell wants this job? Like, I'm sure you heard the reports that they might bring Rex Ryan back. Like,
I saw that.
Like, what?
Hey, listen. Whatever. I mean, he's the last coach that got them to the playoffs.
Yeah, true. That's true. Yeah. Like, come on, bro.
Well, that's what I'll say. Rex Ryan.
You're retreading the guy that you fired. Like, what?
That's wild. Bro.
Yeah, bro. Like,
that's like the Cowboys. Like, we're gonna let McCarthy go. We're gonna hire Jason Garrett. Like, wait, what?
As bad as I talk about Jerry, Jerry wouldn't even do that. No,
bro.
Nah.
Yeah. So, and then the last one before we wrap things up is the Saints. This is where I like Aaron Glenn, because he played there Play with the
So
Saints.
I think they're going to go offensive because they already Dennis. I know he's not good. He's a disaster.
Though. See, like I don't always think they're going to change because what the last guy, but he was awful. Like
he was, yeah.
He shouldn't be the stain that keeps them from potentially bringing in another defensive guy. But,
gotcha.
Yeah, but we'll see.
So you like Aaron Glenn in this spot?
I do. I think that's another team that like. Because the Saints, one thing I like about the Saints, they've always been kind of like solid defensively.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But they've also been good offensively over the years with Peyton. But
right.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if they brought in Glenn here. Much as yes, ties, he used to play there. Bring in a good OC. I don't think the Saints are that far. That division sucks. So, like, they're not that far away from potentially being a.
I would have said Glenn going to the Jets, but
ugh.
Yeah, I don't want him to go to the Jets.
I don't want to see him get fired.
Exactly. I don't want him to go to the Jets. Yeah, because he has ties to the Jets as well. But because that was his best years with the Jets. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't want to see him go there. Like
Sexy Rexy. Just do it. Whatever.
Sexy Rexy. Retreading a guy you already fired. That's wild.
From like 12 years ago. That's
wild.
That's a Jets thing to do. They're gonna bring back. They're gonna be like, you know what? We're gonna hire Herm Edwards. It's like, wait, what?
He's gonna be like, the Browns will be back.
This is a bit of an inside joke. The Herm Edwards used to do like this Terminator bit,
and they called it the Herminator.
Called the Herminator on Sports Center. I was like,
it was awful.
I think that's when Sports Center tried to like go down. Like, all right, the ratings aren't good. They needed to try like something new. Like
he wore his black leather jacket with some like black sunglasses.
It was like the Steelers will defeat the Raiders, and then they'd have like this like Terminator.
Yeah, it was like yeah, it was like the Terminator music. Yeah, it was awful, bro. He
was mad cool though. He
was a really nice guy. Yeah,
he's a nice guy.
Yeah, real nice guy.
I remember one time it was me, Eagle, and Anish, a couple guys we've had on the pod before, and we were in the cafeteria, and I'm like, we were having this big debate, and I was like, hey Herm, what do you think is worse as a head coach? Getting blown out? What's more heartbreaking, getting blown out or losing a close game? He was like, both. They're both terrible. I was like,
I can see you saying that. I can see you.
We know that, but we want you to pick. See, to me, if I had to pick whether my team gets destroyed or if they lose a heartbreaker, like, oh man, like, dang, like a fumble on the last play and the other team picked it up for that, I'd rather lose a close game because I know that my team had a shot. Like, we were competitive. Nobody's questioning our effort. With a close game, like blowouts is like, bro, like I wasn't excited from the first quarter, like we were down.
But so I disagree with you because the reason they call it a heartbreaker because your heart is broken. When you get blown out, when the game is kind of over, you're like,
though.
It is, but it's just like, yeah, they just didn't show up. They had just had a bad game. This just wasn't their game. And at least you know that from the start because I normally would just turn off games. Whereas like. Imagine you watching a whole game. It's a good game. It's going back and forth. You're like, oh man, we're in this. We're good.
Yeah.
And you lose in the final second, bro. I might cry my eyes out. Like what? Like
every loss I've experienced as a Steeler fan, the worst losses to me were always personally. And like, there's no right or wrong with this. It's just like a difference. Like people.
Right.
All the worst losses as a Steeler fan were all games that were kind of blowouts. Like when we lost to New England. Roethlisberger's rookie year, when we lost to the Jags at home, even though that game was only a 3-point game, they were up like 20. Dude, how about when we lost to the Browns in Pittsburgh a few years ago? We were up nothing in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So like to me, like we were never in the game. Like I never had. Like I like to be excited. It's the playoffs. Like if this.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Kwab. But you can off of that, you could say like, all right, this game's over. Like I'm good. Whereas like when you're in a game, like you said, you're in a close game. You're in it, or you like, okay, we can win this, right? And you lose final second, let's say field goal or a last minute touchdown. Like I can only imagine how Bills fans felt in that 14 seconds losing that. That is crazy, bro. Like
because that game, the wide right gets talked about more than when they got blown out by the Cowboys.
Say it again.
Wide right, that kick by the Bills, that gets talked about more than when they got blown out by the Cowboys, the Bills. So like you're right,
yeah,
heartbreaker. That gets talked about more.
Right, like when we lost to the Packers off the so-called non-catch, that was heartbreaking, bro. Like I was, because I thought we were gonna win the game. I'm like, dog, we got this. Like, oh, we're gonna win, dog. Like I said, I'm almost like those almost. I can see why they call it heartbreak. Like you're near tears. Like what? Like when you're out of the game, it's like, oh yeah, they're just not good. Yeah, like it's over. You know what I mean?
For me though, I don't like when people question my team's effort. Like, yo, they quit. I hate that. Or like you got severely out coached. because ultimately that just means you weren't prepared. For me, like if the Steelers lose this weekend, I mean, it would suck if they lose either way, but if they lose this weekend 24 to 23, I'm gonna be like, damn, like, but hey man, we were in a great game. Like people thought we would lose by, people were a 10-point underdog. Like we ended up keeping it close. We're on the road. So maybe it's more certain, like situational, like, oh, okay, if you were a big underdog.
I'm sorry, if the Cowboys are playing somebody, wait, they're an underdog by 10, and I'm going to get mad if they lose by 10 or lose by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to be like, well, yeah, we're the underdog. Like, this is what is expected, right? Now, it's different. Why I was still a little upset last year we got blown, even though I kind of called that game.
Yeah, you said it wouldn't be close either.
Right.
Wow.
The Cowboys, even though they were favored, because I know my team, I know how they are. They're just not Dallas, especially in the playoffs. They're not good being the favorite. Like games they've won in the last few years, they've been the underdog, right? So when they played Tom Brady and the Bucks, like I had a good feeling about that game. So I'm like, yeah, we're the underdog. We're on the road. I actually always, I don't think I've told you this since I've been a Cowboy. I actually like us on the road better than I do at home.
Yeah, just
like whether it's playoffs or regular game. I like us on the road, even when we've lost to San Fran in the last couple of years. Remember, all those games were close. They were right there, so they didn't get blown out.
Was definitely a heartbreaker.
Say it again.
When you guys couldn't stop the clock, the one in Dallas, that was definitely a heartbreaker.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't actually like us at home when we're playing in the play. I like us on the road. So when we're the underdogs, I'm more like, oh yeah, I think we can win this. I think we can shock people. Where when we're the favorite, I'm like, nah, I'm not feeling this at all. You know what I mean?
Now let's. Sorry, you want?
Yeah, so like I was saying, like you're right, it is situational. But if the Cowboys are 10-point underdogs and they lose by 2 touchdowns, I'm gonna be like, yeah, it was kind of expected, right? It's different when they're a 10-point favorite and then they get blown out. Yeah, I get it. You're gonna be a little upset. Like, wait a minute, how did we get blown out by?
Oh, I hate it, bro.
Let's say the Panthers made a play. Like you got play, like you're the one seed. You got blown out by the Panthers.
But you were depressed the whole game. Like at least in those other games, like man, you were hype at one point. You guys scored. You went ahead. Like yes, let's go. Like you have reasons to be excited. I'm waving my terrible towel. Man, if we're losing,
yeah, I agree. Those are more upsetting when you get blown out. It's an upset feeling. Like you're mad. It's awful. But when you lose at the end, it's just like it's just heartbreaking, bro. Like I said, I've come near to tears sometimes. Like, damn, bro. Like, like I said, that Packer one is. I still don't think I've ever gotten over that Packer game. Like, I'm like, dog, come on.
Yeah. You now, on the flip side, do you prefer a win in blowout fashion, or which win feels better, blowing out a team or winning a tight, close game, a hard fought game?
Well, obviously blowout because you're kind of you're cruising. You don't have a lot to worry about. I'm trying to think of the game because the Cowboys haven't been a lot of close when they've won most of their playoff games. They've kind of like pretty much won easily. But one game, I know the one game against when they played Detroit, I think it was Romo's last playoff win when they beat Detroit. That was a close game, so that was good
too, though, man. Those like close heartbreak, like man,
yeah,
either way and you guys
that was good, right? That was a good game, but like like when Dak beat the Bucks, they controlled the game. Like they had it. Like
but Dak looked awesome.
Yeah, like or no, I take it back. And then Dak's had one close playoff win when they played the Seahawks. Remember they won that?
That was a good win too. Yeah,
they won that. And then remember the one I know you love this win. Remember we were in Vegas and Tony Romo's first. They beat the Eagles.
Oh, you and
Herb. And then me and Herb were like Cowboy. Remember the whole night?
You and Herb.
That's actually one of my favorite playoff wins because we blew them out.
Was that 2011?
Ooh. So we were at ESPN. I know that.
Remember we had a little like hotel party. Remember
we did.
Yo, that was a good night.
It was. Remember, because me and Herb were like Cowboys, like the whole night, we're like Cowboys.
Yeah, that was great because that was you guys' first playoff win in a little while.
Right? Yeah. That was Tony Romo's first playoff win. So that.
Because who did you guys lose to in the next round that year?
Oh, we got killed. We lost to the Vikings with Favre. It was Favre's like MVP. He was the MVP. No, he wasn't MVP. He was MVP candidate.
I thought
that's the year they lost to the Saints in the NFC Championship game, like right at the end when Favre threw the pick.
Oh, I thought that was a different season.
No, that's when the Saints they lost. That's when the Saints won the Super Bowl. They beat the Colts that year.
So what year was the Packers loss? Oh, that was 2015.
Right. That was who won that year. Was that the Patriots?
Who won the Super Bowl in 2015?
Yeah.
That is a good question.
Who was it? 2015.
It might have because the Patriots. I think that's when they were like in their little Super Bowl drought. I don't think they won it that year.
No, because the Packers lost to the Seahawks the next week in the NFC Championship game with that onside kick.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I think the Patriots won, bro. I think that's the year the Patriots beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the Patriots.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
But like the year you guys the year you beat the Eagles, you lost to the Vikings in the next round.
Yeah, we got killed. It was like 31 to like 10 or something like that.
Yeah,
we were never in the game. They were up like like first quarter they were up like 14-0. So I was like, yeah, this game's over.
Yeah. And then in 2017, the 2016 season, but the game happened in 2017. That's when you guys lost that heartbreaker to the Packers in Dallas. That's when Rodgers made that throw to Cook on the sideline. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, we had a bye, but we didn't beat anybody in the first because we had a bye.
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
We had a bye that year because the year that Dak beat the Seahawks, we lost to the Rams. I think the next week. Yeah, we played the Rams.
Dude, you guys kind of worked the Eagles. I didn't realize it was 34-14. I thought the
game bro. That was a nice game to watch.
You guys scored 27 points in the second quarter.
Yeah, bro. We were, yeah. Remember me and Herman were watching. We kept like slapping each other. Let's go. Like, yeah, bro.
Winning a playoff game is so amazing.
It is.
It's the best feeling. It's been a while for me. It's been a while.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, we won 2 years ago? Yeah, right.
Was the Bucs the last playoff win?
Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm. So it's 2 years ago.
Oh man, they feel so good, man. The Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2016, bro. It's been a while. That's where a lot of that Tomlin heat is kind of coming from. It's been a minute, man. So
yeah.
But yeah, wish me luck, man. As you always do, you always supporting your boys' squad.
Man, I'll be rooting for the Steelers. You know, my mom's a Steeler fan. You know what I mean?
That terrible towel from her, wave it around. And
yeah. I was talking to her today, so yeah, she's looking forward to watching it.
I'm gonna hit her up if we win. I'll be like, "Yo, we did it."
Well, you know, it's funny because suppose I was talking to her today. She's like, "Yeah, you didn't get paid." She's like, "I don't have them winning the next game." Because she's like,
they have to go. They potentially have to go to the Chiefs are gonna get killed.
Yeah, so she was saying like she just hopes they win this one and then that's it.
Yeah, I'm a different kind of fan. So like I'm realistic about my team when it comes to like if they're Super Bowl contenders. Like the Steelers, there was a point this season where I'm like, they look pretty good. They look like they could be that dark horse. They look like a dark horse. They're not. But at this point, if they beat the Ravens, especially a divisional rival, especially a team like the Ravens that people are thinking can get to the Super Bowl, I would be thrilled. That would make my season. Like next year, because we're not winning next week. We're not beating potentially KC and KC because Mahomes absolutely destroys the Steelers every time he plays them. So
yeah, because that Christmas game, I was like,
bro, not every time. The first time Mahomes played against the Steelers was I think it was the year you got married. It was 20. Anyway, he had 6 touchdowns and no picks. It's bad. But yeah, man, we'll see. That's why they play, right?
Yeah, but that's cool. You're going to a playoff game, man. Like I said, I've never been to one, so awesome. Yeah, just dress very warmly, as you know. You know what I mean? Because it's supposed to snow.
I'd rather lose a heartbreaker than a blowout.
Say it again.
I'd rather lose in a heartbreaker than lose a blowout.
Yeah. So you being in person, I agree because it's like, you don't want to stay there the whole game to see them get killed.
I'll be looking terrible. I'll be all cold. I'll be like, I'll look awful.
No, you ain't gonna be like that. You're gonna be like doing this the whole time, but you're losing. Yeah. So no, I agree. Being in person, you don't want to see a blowout. You know what I mean?
Man, I'm not trying to see that.
Yeah.
So it's a hated like division rival. I'm not trying to see that.
Yeah, but just be careful, bro. You're gonna be surrounded by a lot of purple in there. So
I'll be good. ID, but hey, man, we'll see how our predictions go. We'll talk about it next week, man. We'll be talking about the divisional round.
That's right.
The one seeds will be in action next week.
Yep.
Yeah, ID. We'll do it again next week.
Peace.